Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to program a handler and how it can save you time during a scenario, leaving you free to focus on the learner instead of the computer. A handler allows an event to trigger a patient response or action no matter where you are in the scenario. I will start off with the original SimMan software, version 3.5, and then do a video for SimMan 3G. Handlers are great for automating tasks in a simulation and can be saved and added to any scenario, saving you even more time. The first thing I need to do is open the handler editor. This can be done either by opening the scenario editor. I'll go to Start, All Programs, SimMan, Scenario Editor, and then I'll go to Edit and Edit Handler. Or I can open it by going directly into the SimMan software, which I have open here. Then I'll go to Edit and Start Handler Editor. Now that I'm in the handler editor, notice that it looks a lot like the scenario editor. I have a frame where I'll program with an events and actions section. I also have a group of action buttons and event buttons, and if I hover over the buttons without clicking, I'll see a description of what that button will control. Then up at the top I have the same Open and Save, Create Frame, Delete Object buttons that I have in the scenario editor. Let's take a look at my empty frame. I need an idea to fill out this handler. It could be for a specific scenario or something more general that can be used in multiple scenarios. I know that we have oxygen therapy come up a lot in our scenarios, and when the learner applies the O2, we scramble to change the vitals on the fly. So I'm going to program a basic handler that will take care of those changes automatically. I need to start by filling in the events section. I can only add one event per box, but I can add as many actions to that box as I want. If the event you are looking for is not pre-programmed, you can add it to the events menu by clicking Edit and then Edit Event Menus. From here you can right-click in any one of the three columns and add any event that you'd like. There are some other tricks you can do in this menu, but let's save that for another video. Oxygen therapy is pre-programmed, so I can just close this out. Back under the events buttons, I know that oxygen is under ABCs, so I'll click the ABCs button and then up in the events section. This opens up the ABC menu. I know that oxygen is under the airway and breathing folder, so I'll expand that and then expand the oxygen folder. And I have the option of oxygen or oxygen removed. I'm going to choose oxygen. Now I want to make sure that I've chosen occurs. If I chose not occurs within, I would add a time limit, and if the students hadn't added oxygen within that time limit, I could make the patient's vital signs deteriorate. For this example, we want to choose occurs, and I click OK. Now you see that my event section has been filled in with oxygen. The next thing I want to look at are the actions. I'll go over to the Monitor Controls button, and click there, and then click back in Actions. This opens up the Monitor Controls menu. There are a lot of things we can change in here, but currently I'm only interested in the SpO2. So I'll come down to SpO2, and I'm going to change this to 97%. So, no matter what scenario we're running, no matter what the O2 is set at, once I activate the oxygen handler, the SpO2 will go up to 97%. I don't want to change anything else here, so I'll leave everything else alone, and I'll click OK. The next thing I want to change are the respirations. So I look for the respirations button, I'll click there, and then click back in the Actions section. And I'm going to change the respirations, and we'll just say that they're going to be 14. And then I click OK. And we see that the respirations have been added. The last thing I want to do is to add a comment. So again, click the Comments button, and back up here in the Actions section. So here, I can type a comment, I can come down and I can grade from 1 through 10, and I can label the action as a correct step or a wrong step. This is a correct step. In fact, I don't have to add a comment. I could just use this to categorize the event as a correct or incorrect step for debriefing. So, I'll go up here and I'll delete my comment. Make sure that correct step is selected, and I'll hit OK. Now, if I wanted to, I could add more boxes by clicking the Create Frames button and anywhere in our blank field, and this creates a new frame. I can also delete unwanted frames. The first thing I need to do is make sure my unwanted frame is highlighted, and I can tell that it is by the blue highlight. And then I'll move up to the trash can, which is the Delete Object button. I can click there, or I can click the Delete key on my keyboard. This oxygen frame is all I need, so I'm going to save it by clicking the disk, Save Handler. This brings up the Save As menu. I'll name this Oxygen. I could add a comment or a description so that another person programming would know what this handler does, and then I'll click Save. So, now I want to test my handler to make sure that it works. I'll just minimize the handler editor in case I need to come back and make any adjustments. And I go into my SimMan software. I could test my handler in any simulation, but I know that I have an oxygen patient. So I'll click Start Scenario, and I find my oxygen test. I'll click that. I don't want to go to debriefing. And so now my oxygen patient will open. With the scenario running, I can look over here and see that my SpO2 is low at 87, and my respirations are high at 24. If I continue looking around, I can see that in the Trends and Handlers box, there's nothing running, and there's nothing under the ABCs, Miscellaneous, or Medication columns either. I want to add my handler to this scenario, and I'll do that by coming down and clicking the Start Stop button under Trends and Handlers. This opens the Trend and Handler control, and then I want to look for my oxygen handler, which is right here. I want to make sure that's highlighted in blue, and then I come down here and I click Start. This has started my oxygen handler, and so I can close this box. Now if I look down under Handlers, I can see that my oxygen handler has started. And if I look over here under ABCs, I see the Airway Breathing folder. If I expand that, I see the Oxygen folder, and if I expand that, I see the Oxygen button, which is what I assigned to my oxygen handler. Now, all I have to do is wait for my learners to add oxygen to the patient. This could happen 30 seconds in or 15 minutes in. It doesn't matter. The handler will respond the exact same way, regardless of where we are or in what frame. Let's say that my learners have added oxygen. I'll simply click on this oxygen button. Notice the green check mark that gives me a visual cue that the oxygen handler has been applied. If I come up and look at the SpO2, that has moved up to 97, and the respirations have come down to 14, just as I programmed them. All of this information is also added to the log. If I come over here, I see that at 1 minute and 52 seconds, the oxygen was added. It's labeled as a correct step, and if I had made a comment, you'd see that there. The respiration rate is at 14 and the SpO2 is at 97, all of the changes we programmed. All of this information will also be available in debriefing. In the Advanced Handlers video, I will show you how to program a handler into a scenario, how to add a trend as an action, making the patient response more gradual, and a few other tricks. I hope this gets you started programming your own handlers so you can spend more time paying attention to the learners in simulation and less time looking at the computer. Thank you.